America also has cities where capitalism actually does work. Texas, well, it kind of works. Texas is not like the most robust capitalist system in the world. There isn't any utopia. And Texas is also very much a part of that. Now, in Texas, there is no consumer protection, like zero. You can have worst commodity and you will have no protection. See, that's the problem. That means you can make defective products, you can sell it, consumer buys it. Well, consumer is dumb. That's what that implies. He's a dumb guy. He should have never bought it. And that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy in my opinion. The laborer does not have protection. The producer also does not have protection. So Texas is a completely hands-off society where they don't protect the producer, consumer, or the laborer. If a business fails, yeah, that's on the producer. He has to take the hit. And so what Texas actually does, this is very interesting because I find that Texas is one of those unique places where business people do treat businesses very seriously. And they believe laborers have to be protected. So one of the basic fundamental regulations on labor is that you have to pay overtime. If you don't, yeah, you will go to jail, and there's no compromise there. And I absolutely love that because that's a great regulation. The fact that you cannot make people work overtime, you just can't. But everything else is hands off. And I think that's very good protection. That's very basic, but very good. Very minimalistic law, but very effective. So what the producer does is when he gives a salary increase to maybe 100 employees, he doesn't give the same 10% to everybody. And this is the issue with unionizing, right? Everybody gets the same thing. What he does is for the more deserving and meritorious candidate, he gives more increase. For others, he gives less. So when I mean less, I mean 1%. For the best guy, 10% even. That's how big the gap is sometimes. And I think that's very important because this system can only work if the producer actually gives compensation based on merit. And I do think that's incredibly fascinating. That in Texas, I do believe, I might be wrong, most compensations, like 99% compensation, is done fairly. If there is merit, they give you fair compensation, like they give you good increase. And I think that's very interesting. Very interesting. What that does is the laborers will produce with a lot of seriousness. Yeah. But the laborers also don't get too much increase, meaning the cost of labor does not increase drastically. So if it increases 10% year on year in California, it probably increases on an average 4% in Texas. Here's the good part. Because the labor knows that there's a meritorious system in play, he works very hard. When he's on the job, he's on the job. He's not doing anything else. This is very important because if this guy is successful, if the producer is successful, and say he's selling 10 pens this year, 10 pens this year, what happens is the labor cost increases on an average by 4%. So that's a big overhead cost, meaning that's going to eat on his profit. But if he is successful, the next year he will sell 50 pens. Now here's the important part. When he sells 50 pens, he has to hire more people. I mean, obviously, you cannot sell 10 pens and 50 pens with the same kind of people, same number of people. He hires more people, but what I'm saying is there's an average 4% increase in salary. Right? What happens is, in terms of cash profit, if he was making $100 selling 10 pens, Today his cash profit on selling 10 pens will remain at $105. Maybe even slightly more, maybe $106. The reason is simple. You might think, wait a minute, there was a 4% increase in the labor cost, but still his cash profit has increased by 6%. Why is that? Here's what happens. When the guy who's manufacturing 10 pens starts manufacturing 50 pens, the demand for raw material increases. Now, if the demand for raw material increases, consequently the supply of raw material also should increase. If the demand of raw material is able to match the supply of raw materials, then the price remains the same. If the demand of raw material increases, but the supply reduces, the price increases the raw material. But here's the kicker. This is how economy on scale works. Most successful businesses, when they scale from 10 pens to 50 pens, they're able to get a reduction in the cost of raw material. Because his argument is, I was buying raw materials for 10 pence at so and so rupees. Now I'm buying 50 pence, so I want you to give me a discount. And I think this is incredibly important because whatever 4% increase has happened, it is compensated by the decrease in the cost of raw material. Now, here's the kicker. In terms of cash profit, he has gone from 100 to 106. Now, I'll tell you why that's not significant. Because in big businesses, like multi-million-dollar businesses, the increase might be 2%, 3% in terms of cash profit. But the most important thing is that the business has become more wealthy. The business has become more valuable. Yeah? The business that was selling 10 pens at $100 cash profit is now selling 50 pence at $106 cash profit. Now you might think, okay, cash profit is less, but now the business has grown. It has grown to 50 pence. It is able to hire more people. See, the Texas model encourages the businessman to grow. And this is the difference between Texas and California. In California, the producer doesn't want to grow. He wants to close down. In Texas, the producer wants to grow because he realizes that although his cash profits are not that much, the value of his business increases, meaning this indirectly forces the guy to put more effort into the business because he realizes that the business is only as valuable as the demand for the product. It is not valuable because of the cash flow. It is not the cash flow, that's the wrong accounting term, but not because of the cash profit, but because of the size of the business growing. The Texas model encourages the businessman to grow his business, to be more successful. And this is great. You know what happened in all of this? The Texas guy was able to build his business and grow it, make a small marginal profit of the growth. The laborer works on merit, but he gets paid fairly. And this is the most important part. I think a lot of people in Texas do pay fair wages. Yeah. And the best part in all of this is that the consumer doesn't have to pay a dime extra for anything. And this is completely reflected in the housing market. A I'll give you an average example. A 4-bedroom independent house, great property. In California, today probably costs $1.5 million. In Texas, it used to cost around $700,000, $800,000. Now this is me giving you a comparative figure, a relative figure. I'm not saying these are exact values. And this is why inflation is bad for the economy. See, what has happened is the producer has become rich, not because he has got more cash, but because the business has grown. So the Texas guy wants his business to grow. The laborer is happy because he's getting paid for his merits and he's getting paid very fair wages. The consumer is happy because the price of the goods is not increasing. And it's completely reflected in the housing market. I've even heard stories where, compared to apartments, where $1 million in California and $200,000 in Texas. And that 5%, 5 times increase in valuation of a property, of the same property in California and Texas should tell you everything. Thank you for listening. Consider liking the video and comment if you have an opinion. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos of this kind.